Hey, everybody, welcome back to this week's episode of Hunting Matters, brought to you by the Houston Safari Club Foundation. We've been gone a couple of weeks here for the holidays, so Happy New Year to everyone. Hope you had a great holiday season and that you were good boys and girls and Santa came to visit you. I'm excited this week to be joined by Rob Kern. Rob is the Managing Director of Hunting Consortium. He wears many different hats that we're going to talk about through various different efforts. So, Rob, thank you so much for joining us today.
Thanks a lot for having me on.
You bet. You bet. Rob, where are you based out of?
So we're out of Berryville, Virginia.
Okay.
It's a very small town in Northern Virginia. We're about an hour west of DC.
Got it. Okay. Yeah, I've been studying Virginia a lot. I don't know if you're a history freak like I am, but I've been watching Ken Burns' latest documentary on PBS about the American Revolution, and there's a lot of stuff about Virginia, of course, on that.
It is. Through the
Um,
Civil War, too.
yeah. I'm a documentary buff and I'm a history buff, and so whenever he cranks something out, it's usually pretty good. And I think it took him 8 years to make this one, him and his daughter. So it's been pretty interesting to revisit the history of our country through that documentary. So Rob, you're kind of a guy who's you're unique in the space in which you operate. I mean, you deal with outfitting, you deal with consulting, you deal with leadership with associations and media. How did all that develop? How did all that kind of fall into? I know it did fall into your lap. I know you pursued it, but how did all that kind of come to a culmination for you?
I'll tell you the truth, it kind of did fall in my lap. Somebody once told me that if you want something done right and you don't want it to fail, give it to the busy person.
Yeah.
So I guess I'm a very busy person, and that's kind of the story. So I started in the industry around 2004, really part-time. Was going to school, was on an Army scholarship at that time at George Mason University.
Okay.
Really, I just help folks with conventions. I help, my parents, it's family business. So they needed help with convention time and printouts and computer stuff, So that's what I did. And then graduated in 08, 09. And then after that, I was actually working at Costco, believe it or not. I was a forklift driver. So found out a lot about Costco. And it's a great company, but they always hire from within. And there's a long waiting list to get from a seasonal employee or a part-time employee into full-time. So I found out there was about a 30-person waiting list. And I said, oh, man, this is tough. Started my master's degree after that. And then that was around the time that my mom actually said, hey, why don't you come work for Hunting Consortium? It's going to look a lot better on your resume than, being a forklift driver at Costco.
Right.
I said, all right, sounds great. So I did that. And the next thing you know, I'm all over the world. I found myself in 3 months in Botswana, on elephant hunts, learning how to build camps and that sort of thing. And it was one thing to the next. Turkey. I was at the FTW ranch, the shooting school. Enjoyed that thoroughly. And then, it's just been full bore since then. And it was really, the position first started with like digitizing the company and getting us into the digital realm. They were still using like photocopiers to make price lists where we would tape stuff together and make our price lists that way. So that's kind of where it started. And then it just escalated, in experience in the field and going with clients, with Jim Shockey in 2013 in Kyrgyzstan, doing Tian Shan Argalis. So, it went very fast. And go ahead. So then, I want to say it was around 2016 that Eduardo de Arroz from Casatur in Spain, he was the president of the IPHA, the International Professional Hunters Association, at that time. And he had been the president there, I think, about 7 years. And he approached me and he said, hey, look, the hunting industry is aging and we need young, qualified professionals. What do you think about becoming a vice president? And I thought about it, and I said, okay, if you need the help, I can help you with social media and things like that. And it was,
Mm.
the IPHA, it was very dated at the time. We're doing our best, but
Yeah.
we're still kind of struggling on the digitizing side, on the digital side.
Yeah.
So then, around 2021, 2022, I was nominated to become president.
Okay.
Eduardo retired, and I was nominated, and it went pretty quick. So it was pretty unanimous. And so here we are. Around that same time, I co-founded Wild Strongholds with
Yeah.
Ed Hudson. I think you know Ed. You've had him
Oh, yeah.
on.
Yep.
And I really believe in sort of the message of that organization. But that's a whole different topic.
The Houston Safari Club Foundation's Worldwide Hunting Expo and Convention is back. January 23rd to the 25th at the Woodlands Waterway Marriott. Explore worldwide hunting and fishing outfitters, gear, auctions, raffles, and banquets. $20 at the door, kids under 15, military and first responders free with ID. Learn more at WeHuntWeGive.org. Sponsored by Boyd's Gun Stocks, Capital Farm Credit, Copandero, DEA Ranch, Dex Imaging, Genus Logistics, Gunworks Revic, and Wildlife Partners.
Yeah. I want to dig into all this during our conversation today. So I'm just, the reason I asked that initial question is I'm curious to better understand what your viewpoint is on how you view the hunting industry overall today. I mean, the general conversations are, it's a bunch of old white guys and they're hunting all over the world and that sort of thing. But, Houston Safari Club is, and you two obviously have been actively recruiting younger people, people of different racial backgrounds, ethnic backgrounds, cultural backgrounds, to try to get them in. And it's really been kind of encouraging and exciting for me to see more people from diverse backgrounds coming into the outdoor world. I'd be interested to know, because from your perspective, how you view overall the hunting industry today.
So it's very interesting, because I do think that there's been a bit of a shift in recent time.
Yeah.
I do think that we're becoming more diverse. I think there's no question about that. We're seeing a lot more females also, which is great. I love to
Yeah.
see that. We're seeing a lot of children, starting early. I think that's pretty great too, and they're traveling a lot. So at Hunting Consortium, we see a lot. We have a lot of clients. So we see when the families are traveling together, and as people they do different hunts, and they always sort of ask, is this one that I could take the family on? And I've seen that a lot more today than I did, maybe 10 years ago or 15 years ago for sure. Wasn't happening as much, but I think that the world's becoming more developed also. We have Wi-Fi now in most places, Starlink. The world's changing, and I do think that it's palatable now.
Yeah.
At that time, not so much. You wouldn't really consider taking your wife to Tajikistan,
Right.
but now, you're seeing a lot more of that. And I think it's great. Coming back to sort of your question on, where is the hunting industry, or how do I see it now? I think that is becoming more diverse, but I think that in a lot of ways we've lost public trust. And I think that it happened a long time ago, because you have kind of like different subsets of hunters. So what we do, the work that we do, that is sort of the sustainable use conservation model, it's really relegated more so to endangered species. Like argallis, elephants, lions, leopards. Not on the side of habitat conservation. So we always have that with hunting, right? Where we're doing the anti-poaching, we're doing wildlife management, and all these things kind of come together. But on the true sort of sustainable use model, that I feel like is more so on species like markhor, where you don't have a lot of them. And, 70 to 80% of the money that's raised at auction goes directly to the local communities where that animal is hunted, where the license is. Versus, for example, your whitetail hunter. And nothing against whitetail hunters. At the end of the day, hunting is hunting, and that's what we do. It's what we enjoy. But whitetail, for example, in Virginia is really, it's barely even hunting because there's so many of them. We've got a
Yeah.
massive overpopulation, and we actually need to reduce the population.
Yeah.
That's a whole different thing. Wildlife management is not sort of conservation, in my opinion. They're
Yeah.
kind of two separate things. So then to the public eye, where we deal a lot in the middle, right? The
Yeah.
anti-hunters are hard to reach, right? They've kind of made up their mind. They're like, yeah, I'm not going to talk to you. You're a
Sure.
hunter, that's it. And they put up the barriers. But the middle ground is the largest ground. And a lot of them kind of see whitetail hunters as that's the hunter. They don't even know about the conservation aspect at all.
Right.
They
Right.
think, they say, they use terms like thin the herd. And
Yeah.
and I hear it all the time. I hear it very repetitively. I'm like, well, let me tell you about something that you might not know. And then as soon as they hear me out, they're like, wow, I had no idea.
Mhm.
So, I'm on board with this. I could do this. I don't hunt myself, but I can get on board with that.
Capital Farm Credit understands that there's something about the outdoors that pulls you in. Could be the fresh air, the colors, the smells, the animals, the freedom. It's all just a part of who you are. And with our recreational land loans, you can purchase land for whatever outdoor pursuit you please. That way, the outdoors won't just be in your soul, it'll also be in your name. To learn more, visit capitalfarmcredit.com. Together, we're better.
Yeah, I agree. You've got that middle group there. Most of the I try to keep up with data and research things, and most of the public view. Well, let's go back to your original point. Most of the people who are not anti-hunting view hunting from a favorable perspective, and we've talked about this before. Amongst all of our circles, that the pandemic did more for hunting and fishing than it did for anything else, because people wanted to go outside, and some people started to hunt, some people started to fish, and that sort of thing, and that kind of plateaued off, and hopefully it continues to to sustain itself and to grow a little bit. But you're exactly right. There's that whole population, and I do want to dig into that further, that we're not talking to, communicating to, and that's that group that's, I don't hunt, but I'm not against it, but they're uninformed. And so I'm going to kind of come back to that point, but you mentioned earlier about being president of the International Professional Hunters Association, or IPHA. What are some of the responsibilities that come with that role, representing professional hunters globally, and where do you see the biggest gaps, in professional standards right now, if any?
So that's a very good question. IPHA is a member of CITES. So we get an invitation to CITES. We are allowed to show up with a delegation. So that delegation can then, meet with other sustainable use organizations. They all powwow together. That includes United States Fish and Wildlife Service, governments. So CITES is kind of like the UN of hunting. We just had the COP20.
Yeah.
So that's the Convention of Parties. And it was at the end of November, beginning of December. We had delegation there. And interesting enough, it actually came out very anti-hunting. I don't know if you heard about the video.
Yep.
But it was pretty shocking. And it was very anti-sustainable use. They actually made that sort of the antagonist of conservation, like poaching. And I thought that was really shocking, because these folks, they didn't really know. They don't know the benefit of sustainable use, conservation. So coming back to your original sort of question or point, the IPHA, we have a lot of values, and we believe in sustainable use conservation, and doing that properly, ethically, morally correct, especially because we have an international seat. Yeah. So this is, we're on the global stage. Everybody's watching. And then we also align with FACE, Conservation Force, other organizations that are also, pro-sustainable use. But I'll say that IPHA is a little bit different than some of those organizations. I kind of say it's akin to the client side and the professional side. So the client side might not be as informed as the professional side. And sometimes there's a bit of bias there because, well, clients, hunters, well, we want to hunt. So open it all up, versus on the professional side, we need to make sure that it's sustainable. We need to maintain that versus sort of the myopic opinion of, well, I want to go hunt a tiger, whatever. Doesn't matter what it is.
Sure.
So on the professional side, we need to make sure that we have the system in place where we can do that sustainably, right? Mm-hmm. We can repeat it. We have a repeatable process where we're actually growing the population. And we see that with lots of species, but, Marco Polo sheep is a big one, mark horse. I mean, you see it everywhere. The model works, and I believe in the model. So essentially, our membership, you need an IPHA member to propose you. You need to have your references in order. And then after that, the vice presidents, we vote, right? Well, I'm president, so I abstain from the voting, but I give it to the VPs and they make the decision. Yeah. Right? That's their job. They can stick their name on it, but it all takes time and money, like most things. But we do our best.
Yeah. Hunting Matters is presented by Copandero Indoor Archery Pistol and Rifle Range, your premier indoor archery pistol and rifle shooting destination. Located in Oak Ridge North, right next to the Woodlands, Copandero offers 2 25-yard pistol ranges, a 100-yard rifle range, and a 25-yard archery range. Whether you're honing your skills or just starting, Copandero has everything you need, including rentals, classes, a retail store, an in-house cafe, and a VIP lounge. Join Copandero today for an unmatched shooting experience. To learn more, go to copandero.com. For people who don't hunt internationally or globally, IPHA, what is the mission of the organization? So I'm guessing it's made up of international professional hunters from all over the world, and kind of what is your mission as an organization? What's your purpose?
So essentially, it's to develop sustainable use conservation, right? And to spread the word, and to also allow professionals to have a voice on the international side. So a lot of the voice is, larger organizations that are more, built of hunters, but not for professionals. And we're the only, you have professional hunting associations and organizations, Professional Hunters Association of South Africa, custodians, IPHA was based off the East African Professional Hunting Association back in 1967 and was established in 1969. So it's actually one of the oldest professional hunting associations, if not the oldest in history. So, that's sort of where we get our roots. It goes way back. So our job, is to be ambassadors. We want to make sure that our membership are ambassadors of hunting, that we're doing it legally, we're doing it ethically, and that we're putting on a strong show. And our membership is teaching our clients. That's the other very important thing. Trophy photos, highly controversial, sensational, as they say. It's another one of those things where, we need to be careful because public trust is there. It starts with that photo.
Right.
So if you clean it up, you get rid of the blood, you make it look like it's alive, you respect the animal, you don't sit on it, things like that. These are very, very important things.
Sure.
So I don't know if that answers your question. But...
No, it does, and it actually kind of jumps ahead to because I wanted to address the social image and the social media aspect of all of this. How much damage or value, either way, do you think that individual hunter behavior and online content can realistically have on policy outcomes? You talked about COP and CITES and that sort of thing, and the video. How much damage or value, do these sorts of things have on the image of hunters, whether you're a professional hunter, whether you're just a hunter consumer, hunter conservationist?
Enormous. Yeah. So enormous. It's hard to put a value on it because it's that big. You have on social media, for example, you know, everybody's on social media. The world is watching, right?
Yeah.
That's what gives you a voice, internationally to everybody, and at any moment in time, you can become sensational. You can be trending, and I don't think anybody wants to be, but you can be. So on the hunting side, I think it's super important that, we remember that the content that we put out there might be viewed or will be viewed by others. And if you have a lot of anti-hunters, for example, that see that content, they will use that and they will weaponize it.
Yeah.
So I think that's probably the most important thing. And there's a proponent of our, industry that's actually totally against trophy photos and posting them on social media.
Right.
A lot of them won't say it, but they've approached me privately and said, Rob, what can we do about this? Like, can't we just ban trophy photos? And my response to that, it's not the trophy photos.
Right.
It's the bad trophy photos. It is sites. There are Facebook sites, and I was shocked to see this. I came across them recently, but there are sites that actually they show gore. I mean, that's it on social media, and it's in hunting related content.
Right.
A baboon, getting shot.
Yeah.
But beyond that, really grotesque stuff that really takes you back. It's shocking. It's shocking that and the following and the likes. I look at the comments, I read, and it blows my mind, because this is our industry. We need to police ourselves.
Yeah.
Associations, organizations, we need to get together. Individual people need to get together and say, hey, you can't post this, because at the end of the day, that stuff gets leaked, right? Politicians see it. The middle sees it. And the minute that the middle sees it, they might be pro-hunting, or they might be like on the fence. They see that, I guarantee you, that is it. You have now lost them. You've lost them forever.
And it's ammunition for organizations and societies and groups that are against hunting. They're like, here, look at this.
Absolutely.
This is what hunting is really all about. They're just, it gets blown out of proportion. And like you said before, I was involved in outdoor television for many years, and it was always clean up the animals, be respectful of the animals. Even the networks that we dealt with, for a while, it was like no kill shots and that sort of thing. So I see where you, especially in the circles that you run in, where people are like, can we just stop posting photos of people, with animals? And I'm like you, I'm not a fan of seeing people sitting on animals or laying next to them or on top of them and that sort of thing. I think it's, my personal opinion, and I'm sure it's yours, it's disrespectful. Are you looking for an investment that goes beyond the ordinary? Wildlife Partners is the nation's leader in breeding and consulting for the exotic wildlife industry. When you invest in wildlife, you're not just acquiring a 100% tax-deductible asset, you're playing a vital role in the conservation of endangered species. Do you own land? You can turn your ranch into a profitable wildlife-driven business. And even if you don't own land, that's no problem. Wildlife Partners offers unique opportunities for non-landowners to invest in conservation while enjoying significant tax benefits and potential cash flow. Not only from the social media perspective, but just from the general perspective, do you think the hunting community has been too much on the defensive position over the years versus on the offensive, or are we self-reflective to criticism, and are we open to changing it, do you think?
It's a tough one. I don't believe that the hunting industry is proactive enough. I think that, for example, the trophy photos is a really good example. A few years ago in 2020, Hunting Consortium was actually censored by Meta. Okay?
I remember that.
One day to the next day, our entire Facebook and Instagram, all our galleries, pictures, it was all wiped, gone.
Yep.
And that was, 10 years of posts and data and all kinds of stuff. And everybody sort of climbed on board, and helped, wrote letters, threatened legal actions. At the end of the day, what it turned out to be was an intern at Meta.
Mm.
That's it. They came across the content
Yep.
and they just wiped it. Boom. And so we restored it mostly.
Yeah.
It's mostly restored. But all that kind of stems from the same thing. It's public perception, public trust. But the hunting community came together to help us. We reached out, they helped. Now, we need to be proactive to stop that from happening. The reason that happens is because you've lost public trust. You've lost the public perception.
Right.
If we can monitor ourselves and not post sensational, gory content, an animal getting disemboweled or something really grotesque or sensational.
Yeah.
You don't need to see that. That's between the hunter and the animal in the moment. It is not something that needs to be, filmed and then spread on YouTube or social media. Keep it quiet, keep it private, and that's what we've done with Wild Strongholds.
Yeah.
We ran a little test on Strongholds. I collected a bunch of sort of my I'll call them my liberal friends, and we're friends, and that's what makes us friends.
Sure.
And I said, hey, I want you to listen to this, and it was just a clip. It wasn't the whole film, but I showed them a biologist and then a local community member talking about how positive sustainable use conservation helps, or how hunting helps the local side, and then how from a scientific standpoint, how it helps.
Mm.
One, I had a kill shot.
Okay.
One, I didn't. When the kill shot happened, I lost 80% of the people. They were gone. They said, I'm not on board with this.
Right.
I can't get behind it.
Yeah.
When we didn't show the kill shot, it was 100%. 100%. They said, yeah, they remembered the message. They remembered what the people said. They remembered everything. With the kill shot on the other side, they didn't even want to talk about it. The majority of people did not want to talk about it. They didn't even remember what the message was.
Yeah.
And it's very interesting because you have this emotional dynamic, and it's about emotions. It's all about managing psychology. And if you don't show the kill, and unfortunately, most hunters want to see the kill. So Wild Strongholds, one of our biggest problems is people ask, they're like, well, where's the kill shot? And they're waiting for it. I don't know how we fix that.
Yeah.
I really don't. I don't know.
Yeah.
Hunting Matters is presented by DEA Ranch. Are you looking for the ultimate South Texas hunting experience? Then look no further than DEA Ranch. DEA Ranch offers some of the best whitetail and exotic game hunts in South Texas year-round. Whether you're looking to fill your freezer or put that next hunting memory on the wall, their professional guides are focused on ensuring each client has a memorable and exciting hunting experience. DEA Ranch offers guided hunts, professional staff, chef-prepared meals, trophy preparation, and more. To learn more, go to dearanch.com. That's dearanch.com.
And the other thing, gosh, I wish we could just, have a genie in a lamp or something. But, like you said, the biology is the biology and the science and things behind conservation, wildlife and habitat conservation is very, very important, obviously, but also that public trust perception, as well, because I've had conversations with people like you have who are not hunters. They're not conservative. They're kind of either liberal or they're libertarian, and when you talk about the aspects of sustainable use and you talk about the aspects of conservation, that sort of thing, they're like, oh, well, I had no clue. They was just kind of uneducated. So I think it's really incumbent upon us as hunters to self-police social media and how we portray the sport and the love of hunting. But how do you do that? I mean, how do we get? Because here's my perception, and I've been in this world for quite a few years, as you have. we're our own worst enemy. It seems to be we're not as proactive as the anti-hunting groups are, and we don't self-police ourselves. I mean, I'm a bow hunter and a rifle hunter, equal opportunity, and the just the divide between bow hunters and rifle hunters just continues to amaze me. But I mean, how do we do this? How do we self-police ourselves? How do we self-correct? How do we all get on the same page?
It's extremely difficult.
Yeah,
Knowing the industry very well, like you do too, it's very hard for us to be of the same opinion. We all want to keep it around, right?
yeah,
We're all of the same opinion on that. We are not on the same opinion on how to do it. I would say, I mean, at least half say, well, too bad. This is what we do. It's a right. We're allowed to do it. Come take it.
yeah,
It's a wrong attitude.
yeah,
That is the wrong attitude altogether, because guess what? They will. Because when you lose public trust, we are already the minority.
right,
It's already happening.
yeah,
So now we need to become proactive. And I think a start to this is that associations like IPHA, like the professional hunting associations, and then also, the larger organizations like Houston Safari Club,
yeah,
SCI, DSC. If we could just WSF, if we could just get on the same page to say, hey, our members are going to follow this behavior, right? So you say, you want to become a member of whatever organization it is. You're not allowed to disrespect an animal.
Hmm.
And I know that's going to rub people the wrong way,
right,
but it is what it is. You got to start somewhere.
yeah,
And that's, I think, how you start. And you make some examples, and like with anything, you need an example. And you need to show people how to do it. So you need to educate. It's a big thing, is education.
yeah,
I think that the majority of hunters, I'm not sure if they could explain how sustainable use conservation or hunting benefits habitat and wildlife. I'm not sure. Especially sort of when we talk about whitetails and stuff, it's the same thing. They're like, well, we're thinning the herd.
yeah.
It's different.
Thinning the herd is not perceived by the non-hunting public very well. That phrase.
That's right.
Yeah,
That's correct.
yeah. What versus we are taking measures through hunting to eliminate the spread of disease, starvation, overpopulation, overbrowsing, overgrazing, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera.
Yep.
It'd be really nice if everybody had the Cliff's Notes or cheat sheets. We go, this is why we do what we do, and it's kind of like reading the Bible. After you read the Bible for a while, you start to kind of pick up on the phrases and the parables and that sort of thing, and remember those things. We almost need a hunting Bible with just a quick Cliff's Notes of things about why hunting is positive versus negative. I mean that would be ideal.
We need equilibrium
Yeah,
in everything. I think that, the yin and the yang, you've got to have balance. And
yeah,
same with wildlife populations. It's the same. When a wildlife population becomes too large, we need to reduce it, because with that come all kinds of other problems. So, right, if
yeah,
predator counts go up, habitat goes down.
right.
There's a lot, and you can look at Botswana as a really good example too, with the overpopulation of elephants. A lot of people don't understand that elephants actually destroy their own habitat.
Right.
I think humans are the only others that, we destroy our habitat. Elephants are the other ones. But an
Yeah.
elephant is a lot bigger than a human.
Sure.
So, yeah, it's very interesting. But yeah, we have to have an equilibrium. We just have to have balance.
Yeah. We've kind of skirted around this issue, but if you could narrow it down to one thing, what do you think, in your opinion, what do you think the biggest disconnect is between the way hunters see themselves and the way the public perceives hunting?
All right, one more time.
So, what do you think the biggest disconnect is? And I'll give you my opinion on this, about the way hunters see themselves and what they do, and the way that the public, the non-hunting, not anti again, the non-hunting public perceives hunters and what they do. And in my opinion, um, I think selfishly, and I'm guilty of this too, sometimes like, oh, cool, I can get away for the weekend. I can go, and I do a lot of whitetail hunting here in Texas. I can get away and go and do that. And I really am not thinking about the conservation message or that sort of thing. I'm thinking about putting meat in the freezer, to be honest
Yeah.
with you, for the next year. So I'm wondering what your thoughts are on the biggest disconnect. And I think I'm just as guilty as anybody is, um, is you're running those circles and you don't really have to, unless you're encountering people that are in the non-hunting public. It's just like, well, this is what we do. We go out and we hunt and we take game and we put it in the freezer and we cook and we feed our families with it, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And I think there's that disconnect with we're in our world over here. You guys are in your world over here. We're not talking to each other because it's like me and you talking about, let's say I like sushi and you don't. You don't want to hear me talk about sushi. You know what I'm saying? I mean, that's just it's a simple analogy, but I think that's one of the biggest disconnects is we're all in our own little silos.
I completely agree with you. And I think that it's very hard for a non-hunter to understand what the enjoyment is in killing an animal.
Yeah.
That is an impossible sort of thing. And that again, it comes down to that kill shot. It's the same sort of thing. It's just the disconnect there of understanding we want to be around nature, we want to do this thing, but we also want to harvest.
Right.
Right? Or they would say kill.
Kill. Yeah.
Right? So, and that there is the most challenging part. It's getting into the psychology there of, well, what is so upsetting about that? We see killing as a negative thing. It's a negative terminology. Harvest is positive.
Yep.
Why aren't we calling it harvesting? Why is it killing? Right? And some of it is, it is semantics, but I think that's the biggest thing. It's just it's a lack of understanding. It's hard to say, but that's kind of where I'm led.
Right.
And then the further you go down that road, it's almost an aversion to it. So the closer you come to hunting and the people that are okay with it, they're less sensitive about harvesting or killing.
Right.
And then as they get more extreme, it gets worse and worse down the line. So I think you could scale it.
Yeah.
And kind of see a pattern there. I don't know how you would change that. I really don't.
Nobody wants to imagine an emergency on a hunting trip, but when the unexpected happens, you want the team of medical and security experts at Global Rescue to be there for you. Global Rescue Operations Centers are staffed by experienced personnel, and you'll always speak to an expert on the first call. Global Rescue provides unparalleled capabilities to transport members to the hospital of their choice, not just the closest. So trade what-ifs for peace of mind with convenient travel services designed for the unexpected. Learn more at globalrescue.com/hunting matters. I think it's an age-old question that's going to become a more relevant question every year that goes by, especially as you have, less hunters, and you have less people that are in the outdoors that are more towards living more in metropolitan areas. If you had a couple of just like baseline rules for how hunting should be portrayed publicly, maybe 2 or 3 things, for people who are watching or listening, and I would just say, hey, what give me 3 of your just kind of your baseline rules as a hunter, how I should portray hunting publicly. What would that be?
All right, so 3 things. How should I portray it?
Yeah.
I would say always be mindful of the words that you're using. So that's probably number 1. Words are very important. Okay. So stay away from words like kill. Second would probably be with any hunting related content that there's a certain amount of respect. So imagine that you work for a company. Would you want your bosses to see this? Would you want a lawyer to see this? Would you want a politician, the President of the United States, to see this? Because that's who you are showing it to. You're showing it to potential policymakers. So anything that you put there on social media, you need to remove yourself from it and look at it from a different point of view. I think that is the most important thing. So if it's a trophy photo, understand, okay, you're going to position it in a way where it looks like it did when it was alive. Let's say bedded down, right? You're going to clean it up. In Europe, we have the last bite, out of a sign of respect. I know that we don't have that here, and the rest of the world doesn't either, but that's a very respectful thing to do. Clean the blood, stick the tongue in the mouth, stuff like that. If you look at it and you're like, you know what, this looks really great, you know. But if you take a picture and you're like, man, tongue's hanging out, it's very, gory, probably clean it up or don't post it at all.
Right. Yeah.
And and then the other one, obviously, it's don't show kill shots.
Yeah.
That's a big one, because it turns the most people off when they see that animal hit, and it gets hit, it runs most of the time, unless it's a headshot, and those aren't pretty. People don't want to see that. So remember, you're showing it to the President of the United States. You want him to create policy for hunting, not against it.
Right.
So if you're showing it to him, are you going to show him a kill shot?
Yeah.
Probably not. You're going to show him that really nice, well lit picture of you respecting the animal, if it's a trophy shot.
Sure.
And then switch gears. Show the scenery, show the mountains, show the terrain. Show a little bit more nature.
Yeah.
Put a different spin on it. Show more live animals.
Yeah.
There's ways that you can spin it and still get the message out.
Or how about even messages, and you do see this from time to time, where somebody's like, here's a steak from an animal that I took, last season. I'm going to show you guys how to prepare it, and shows the family eating it or whatever, just to connect the dots of, I'm not just going out there and shooting something just for the sake of shooting something. It's I'm going out there for management, I'm going out there for food, whatever the case may be. Telling, it's almost like telling a joke and leaving out the punchline, if you will. You got to finish the whole story.
In the heart of nature, give your deer the nutrition they deserve with Record Rack Deer Feeds. The premium feeds support antler growth and overall herd health. Whether you're a wildlife enthusiast or a dedicated hunter, Record Rack Deer Feeds provide essential nutrients for a thriving herd. Choose Record Rack Deer Feeds for optimal deer nutrition. Visit recordrack.com to learn more.
So, a lot of times, when I have a lot of experience with kids. I've got a 6-year-old daughter, and she's got friends, and we have a lot of kids the same age, and so when they see the trophy room, they ask, why'd you kill these? And it's very interesting, because if you look at it from that point of view and you say, well, I kill it to save it, right?
Yeah.
They're like, that doesn't make sense to me. And it's the age-old thing, we're killing one to generate income to save the habitat or to do more. But a kid doesn't know that. And it's almost like you have to apply that same mentality to the antis. And people sort of even the ones that aren't anti-hunting, but they're on the fence, they're not pro-hunting, that mentality has to be applied. So we need to somehow figure out a messaging where we can, sorry about that,
That's okay.
where we can, kind of solve that. That's what we need to get at.
Right. Yeah. Yeah.
And if we eat it, that's sustainable, right? Like sustaining us.
Yep.
Kids understand that more than endangered species things. They both have a reason.
Which we hadn't talked about before, today anyway, is the money. I mean, the fact that most of the conservation practices at home and abroad are funded by hunters, and the money that they spend. I think you'd be far and few between to reach out to anti-hunting people and say, well, are you writing a check? Are you donating? Are you whatever? Are you financially supporting these wildlife populations? No, just hunting is wrong. And
That's
you know,
it.
I'm just going to make that mic drop, and that'll be it. But they again, it's part of our responsibility as hunters and conservationists as well, is to convey that message of, you know, I spend this money, and this money goes towards um, habitat preservation or wildlife management, or goes to studies and science and that sort of thing, policymaking, that sort of thing too, because we love it so much that we want to participate it in, but we want it also to be around for many years to come. And the only way that can happen is money. That's the only way
Money
it's going to. That's the only way
makes
it's
the
going to.
world go round.
Yeah.
And it's very interesting that you mentioned that. So I just recently, this last week, I had a conversation with a friend of mine,
Mhm.
and we were talking, and she said, you know, I'm not a hunter, but who am I to judge, because I'm not donating anything to wildlife or conservation or habitat, anything. I'm doing nothing.
Right.
Versus hunters who are paying big money in most cases, right, for this industry to do what we do, you know, to
Yeah.
save these animals, to put it towards habitat conservation, wildlife conservation, all these different things, anti-poaching, you know, helping local communities. You know, Pakistan, you know, that money, that 70% from the auctions, I mean, it's hundreds of thousands of dollars a year, and they use it to build clinics in remote, you know, regions of the world where, you know, there's no power, there's no infrastructure. They're putting in roads, bridges, clinics, schools. You know, the money really, I mean, it does a lot.
Yeah.
So, yeah, and I thought that was really interesting. She's like, you know, who am I to judge? You know, I'm not a
Right.
hunter.
Right. Well, it's refreshing to hear somebody say that, say I'm not, you know, a hunter, but I don't really do anything to help animals or habitat, or, you know, that's a that's something you don't hear often, where people will say, I'm not a hunter, or I don't care for hunting, but, you know, I don't do anything else to support these animals. Are you looking for a smarter way to manage your document imaging and print environment? Dex Imaging delivers industry-leading printers, copiers, and fully managed print services designed to cut costs, boost productivity, and simplify your workflow. Whether you're a small business or a Fortune 500 company, Dex provides personalized local service with the power of a national network, so you get fast, reliable support wherever you are. Dex gives back, proudly supporting organizations like Houston Safari Club Foundation by giving through profit sharing. Dex Imaging, smarter technology, exceptional service, proven results. Visit deximaging.com or email Adam Montgomery at adam.montgomery@deximaging.com. Let's go back to Wild Strongholds, because Wild Strongholds,
Sure.
you guys are focusing on conservation storytelling. It's focused on local communities, and you have subject matter experts. Tell us a little bit about how the idea for Wild Strongholds came up originally, and why is that so much more important now than ever?
Sure. So it's a very interesting story. So around 2017, Ed Hudson contacted Hunting Consortium about a Marco Polo sheep hunt. So he had heard about us, you know, so he contacted us, spoke to my father, Bob Kern, and said, I want to go on a Marco Polo sheep hunt. And I said, sure thing. You know, they started working out the details. And he goes, well, before I do that, I want to do sort of I want to feel you out. I want to learn more about you. Let me do another hunt, and we'll see how you do, and then we'll do the Marco Polo. So he went to Cameroon. out of all the places, he went to Cameroon, to the rainforest, and went bongo hunting, and came back and had a blast. Had a really great experience. And then he did the Marco Polo sheep hunt, and that's sort of where we met for the first time. You know, I was advising him on, you know, equipment to bring and sort of what to expect and that sort of thing. He booked, and then he had a lot of questions. So, you know, that's where Ed and I linked up, and that was about 2018, 2019. And in that, you know, we really talked a lot. I got to know him very well. And at his core, he really believes in the mission. And he said, you know, I want my daughter, I've always grown up hearing how, you know, it's not like it used to be. Oh, there aren't as many of those as there used to be. Oh, yeah, it used to be a lot more than that. et cetera, et cetera. So he's like, I want my daughter to come into a world when she grows up where she says, yeah, it's a lot better today. There's more today than there was 20 years ago.
Like the turkey story in North America.
That's right. So and I really believed. I thought that was such a cool thing, because it's centered around his daughter. That makes it very personal. And so then 2020, COVID hit, and boy, that was tough. That was real tough. So Hunting Consortium, I mean, we took a dive. Boy, we suffered. And we ended up laying off, all our employees. I was looking at getting laid off too. And, the threat was always looming. And so I wasn't working in the office because we didn't have any work. And so I had my pay cut. So that hurt. And I said, you know what? I've got time now that I could help with this dream that Ed has. And so I approached him. I was also, I got involved in a local company here, gutting houses. So, manual labor, and so in that, I did that. And then I called Ed. I said, hey, I've got time to help. Let me write you a business model canvas, and let's see if we can't get this thing off the ground. And we did, and I think he went to Pakistan that year he went to Pakistan, he went to Tajikistan. So we did 3 Markhors, I think, in the span of about 6 weeks, which is pretty incredible. I don't know anybody else that's done that. So, so we were in Tajikistan, then we went to Pakistan. And the whole foundation of that was centered around it's better than it used to be. And how do we do this? And I said, well, we've got to educate the middle ground, right? The people who, they're not anti-hunting, but we also don't want to talk to the echo chamber. The echo chamber is already pro-hunting. You've lost the message already. And reality is exactly as we know it. Hunters want to see the kill shot. Nobody else does.
Right.
We need to convert those people in the middle just to agree with it. Not to become hunters. They just need to understand it. That's it, because those are your policymakers. That is, the majority, the vast majority are sort of in the middle. They're indifferent. That's who we need to target. And so when we did this, we decided we're not going to tell the story from the hunter's side. We don't need, because we have plenty of that. The hunting industry is all, let us tell you what we're doing for conservation. All right, well, when we go to CITES, and I look at United States Fish and Wildlife Service, I look at the import permits, I look at, CITES documents, it's all about local communities. Let them tell the story. Let science be the roadmap, and then allow the local communities to tell their stories. And then we'll get some wildlife officials there, local wildlife officials in those countries, to tell their stories. And that's kind of how it all started. And here we are today. I think we're hovering somewhere around 700,000 subscribers. We've got several million, views on our films, and so, but it all requires funding. That's the hardest part, time and money. So getting funding it's always challenging. It's tough, and but I think that this is a vehicle to get to the middle ground. The problem is it doesn't have a lot of hunter support.
Gunworks just launched a new rifle system. It's called Index. It's sized for adventure and engineered for extremes. With barrel lengths as short as 16 inches and a folding stock that collapses to an ultra-short profile, the Gunworks Index fits nicely in a UTV, a float plane, or across the seat of your truck without sacrificing accuracy. The Index features a built-in ARCA and pick rail for use on tripod or bipod, and a night vision rail to ensure you're ready for any scenario. The Gunworks Index delivers magnum capability in the most compact chassis rifle system on the market. Visit gunworks.com to learn more.
Yeah, and you guys do a great job of blending authenticity and transparency without really, telling the story without sanitizing hunting, if you will. I think that's just my opinion. It's like you said, reaching that middle ground, and there is a way to do that more effectively than we've done in the past. And I think you guys are doing a good job about that. There's a one I was looking back some of your stuff, the Alpine Ibex film in Austria.
King of the Alps. Yep.
Yeah. How does that illustrate how hunting and wildlife management can be communicated more effectively in your mind? I mean, what that I think that film does a good job. How do you think that that film really told the story about hunting and wildlife management to the non-informed or uneducated public?
Sure. In one line, Alpine Ibex were nearly extinct. I
Right.
think that there was a population of 100 left around 1856, I think it was. So, and the only remaining population was in Italy. And I believe it was the king of Italy, created a hunting reserve with those 100. And that
Really?
became Gran Paradiso Hunting Reserve. Today, Gran Paradiso National Park. So from hunting, we saved Alpine Ibex today. And so they were wiped out in Austria, wiped out in France, wiped out in Switzerland, wiped out in Slovenia.
Yeah.
There were none. I mean, Italy was it. And they took those and then repopulated the native range. Today, you have them in France, Switzerland, Austria, Slovenia.
Yeah.
They're everywhere. It's great, and it is now a non-threatened, which is the IUCN's, least, I don't even recall that. It's the least threatened category, right? So the population is stable.
Yeah.
And that's, I mean, in a nutshell, that's a success story, going from extinct, nearly extinct,
Right.
to now being the least concern. That's a win.
Where can people find out about Wild Strongholds?
So YouTube.
Okay.
So they can go to YouTube. They can go to the website. That's www.wildstrongholds.com. And on YouTube, just Google Wild Strongholds. Go to YouTube, find Wild Strongholds. It's easy to find.
This episode of the Hunting Matters podcast is brought to you by B&B Taxidermy. Since 1983, the Baird family at B&B Taxidermy have been the premier experts in trophy mounts. Whether it's African, North American, global, or exotic, B&B Taxidermy will provide design, artistry, and attention to detail that you won't find anywhere else. B&B Taxidermy can also design and decorate your trophy room, showcase, or office with custom dioramas built to suit your space. Check out their showroom of exotic trophies on Jones Road in Houston, or visit their website at bbtaxidermy.com. B&B Taxidermy, proud supporters of the Hunting Matters podcast and Houston Safari Club Foundation. Let's talk about what pays the bills. Hunting Consortium. So you guys recently completed, I think you recently completed a rebrand and a repositioning. Is that correct?
We did. It was a complete overhaul. So, from all the way from, the old website was okay. It had all the countries and it kind of had a list of species. And always kind of had a dream of putting all the species out and creating content for each species plus the countries. And then talking a little bit about the conservation message too, how it benefits the species, what it is that's happening there. And so I want to say that I've built one of the most comprehensive websites in hunting, arguably. So now, we have most countries there where hunting occurs, where we operate, and that's around 60 countries. And then I'm hovering somewhere around 300 species, I think, on the website now. I want to get to 400 plus. We'll see. Because it's going to be all the golden jackals and the badgers and the wolverines and some of the smaller species.
Right.
But I've captured most of the big ones. And so we also did a big rebrand, which between my dad and I was a massive fight. Because he liked that he said, I designed this in Germany, because the company started in Germany in 1985.
Yeah.
And so he created this, what we call the Wappen, or the coat of arms,
Yeah.
right? And it's got a lion and it's got red stag, and it's very intricate, which makes it very hard to embroider, reproduce, to do anything with. So we needed something simple. And I said, our staple is really argali hunting. That's our claim to fame. That's what made us, outside of my dad exploring. He was in Romania at the beginning of the revolution. So literally, I mean, there's still bullets flying, and my dad went there,
Wow.
and then he was in Kamchatka amongst the first operators, American operators, sending Americans to Kamchatka, the Russian Far East, on bear hunts. I want to say that Craig Boddington hunted with my dad 1992 in Kamchatka. So, I mean, that was right at the beginning. And so that was sort of the claim to fame. But then after that, there was a transition to argalis. And so I designed an Altai argali, and it's an Altai argali head over top of the company name Hunting Consortium. And then we went with a very modern design, which you also see on the website too. So it's kind of, you get that continuity, you're with a team. I think that's the most important thing. Hunting Consortium is not just my dad. It's not just me.
Yeah.
We have an entire team there. As somebody called it, they just showed up at the office and said, man, this is a command center. I had no idea what, Hunting Consortium really was. And now I understand it because we're always there. We're always there fixing problems. We're working around the clock, really.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's what pays the bills.
Yeah. What is it about the Marco Polo or Argali? What is that? Just that seems to be your main core thing. Your main. I mean, you guys have a lot of areas of expertise, but that's kind of seems to be the anchor, right?
So, I guess I don't know. I have a massive fascination with argali. There's something about them. I find it so unique. I think it's a place that not many people go.
Right.
It's the roof of the world. That's what the Pamir Mountains in Tajikistan are called, because your base camps are around 12 to 13,000 feet, and you will hunt up to 15,000 feet, right on the border of Afghanistan or some of the hunting areas.
Right.
So I find that fascinating. And even, with Jim, when we hunted in Kyrgyzstan, totally different experience. Now it's a horseback hunt. You're dealing with Kyrgyz. In Tajikistan, see, we have our own Hunting Consortium staff. So we handle, the majority of what happens there. Not so much in Kyrgyzstan. Kyrgyzstan is like the Wild West. There's a lot of stuff that happens there, and it's just a wild place. And I think it's one of the few places in the world where you get that experience. Then transition, you have Mongolia. Mongolia is phenomenal. From the cultural standpoint, you would love it with the history, Genghis Khan, and the whole, it's just an incredible experience from the Gobi to the Hungai to the Altai. In the Altai Mountains, I mean, the elevation isn't so high, but to see those argalis, and you don't see them in the numbers. In Mongolia, you don't see the numbers that you see in Tajikistan. In Tajikistan, you'll see 500 to 1,000 sheep a day. It's unbelievable. In Mongolia, you'll see maybe 20 a day. If it's Altai argali, I mean, it doesn't matter what, Gobi Hungai or Altai argali, you're going to see about 20 to 30 a day. Yeah. And then really you're trying to find that ram, that one special ram. And in 2018, we shot, and I was there, flying of mine shot, ended up being the number 2 world record. And it was 67 inches.
Wow.
With about 22 or 23 inch bases.
Wow.
And that's unbelievable. I mean, so that's why I say that argalis, argali is the term for giant sheep. So for mountain hunters, I want to say, besides the Markhor, it's really the pinnacle. Pinnacle of Asia, anyway. There's no animal that lives higher. Yeah. So I don't know. I don't know why, but that's, I've just got a connection to them.
I'm going to go ahead and ask this question. I know I probably shouldn't. What can a hunter expect what's the investment in a hunt of that type? Average.
Financially?
Yeah.
All right. So in Kyrgyzstan, you're going to be hovering right around $40,000.
Okay.
right? So it's not, hey, it's cheaper than a stone sheep hunt,
Right. Oh yeah.
right?
Yeah.
And it's going to be close to the price probably of some Dall sheep hunts, right? And your bighorns, I mean, there's no question. So
Yeah.
value for your money is 100%. I mean, I was just having a conversation with a guy today, and he was like, "Yeah, I really want to do the stone sheep, but I'm not spending, 6 figures on a North American
Right.
sheep."
Isn't that crazy?
It is crazy. It is so nuts.
And 10 years ago, it was so much less.
Yeah, insane. And then in Tajikistan, where you have much bigger Marco Polos, you're in for about 50K. Now round trip, everything, you're probably 60K.
Yeah.
That's a very realistic number.
Right.
Mongolia, you're going to be 6 figures immediately. It's going to be very close to 6 figures all in, just for the Gobi, which is the smallest.
Yeah.
And then your Hungais are more expensive, and then your Altais are the king. Now you have a North Altai Argali too. GSCO has separated the northern part of Mongolia. It's northwest. So it's called Uvs province. And there you have actually a lot of value, or well, you did. So when GSCO came out with the North Altai, there was a surge of bookings because most serious sheep hunters have done everything there is to do.
Yeah.
And that is an outlier because it's there. They haven't done it. So either they need to do a Southern Altai or they need to do a North Altai. Because if you did an Altai, you need the other one.
Right.
So we did. I mean, the prices did go up, but it's still, I think that value for your money, if you want to do an Altai or Gali, you do the North Altai, and that'll maybe run you 125, which is close to a stone sheep.
Yeah, but what an experience. I mean, it's crazy. I mean, you guys are, I can't think of anybody else that, if you're going to make that investment, and the of time and dollars, there's nobody better than to call you guys because of the sheer number, the familiarity, the staff, the connections, the number of hunts you guys have done over the years for these types of sheep. It's just crazy.
The Houston Safari Club Foundation is a 501c3 nonprofit organization that supports the future of hunting and conservation. Wildlife and habitat conservation, youth education and outdoor experiences, scholarships, and anti-poaching efforts are just a few of the programs supported by this organization. Monthly events, an annual convention, award-winning publications, networking opportunities, and valuable resources for hunting knowledge are just a few of the benefits of being a member of Houston Safari Club Foundation. If you're searching for a group of people dedicated to protecting the future of hunting, look no further. Join Houston Safari Club Foundation today at wehuntwegive.org or call 713-623-8844.
Is there anything you see, what's kind of the next big thing for Hunting Consortium in the next 5 years?
Man,
Or
sky's
just,
the limit. I mean, if everything
I know
goes to plan.
I know with the
Go ahead.
rebrand and everything, that's a heavy lift because I've done that before and done websites and the whole thing. So I'm sure that was a heavy lift too. But
It took me about a year to do the website just to get it sort of functional and operational.
Yeah.
But now I'm integrating with a CRM, right, management system, and I'm getting the workflows going. So that's the
Right.
next thing is kind of on the management side to alleviate some of the pressure on our staff and allow them to focus more on the clients,
Sure.
right? Because that's really, our job is to take care of the clients.
Yeah.
So the second thing is that I've hired staff in, like Mongolia. We now have a manager, permanent full-time manager in Mongolia. We have one in Tajikistan, have one in Russia, Romania. So we're kind of expanding our network of professionals where mostly in regions where logistics break down,
Okay.
right? Because that's when you need somebody. We've got somebody in Turkey also,
Right.
so you need, we lean on those folks heavily when there's an issue, and the clients love it. They love interacting with those guys and knowing you have a guy and he's a fixer. That's his job, you know? So you have me, of course, but with the time change, and I answer my phone at 2:00 in the morning or at 4:00 in the morning. That's my job. If it's an emergency, we deal with it. And, I've got a really good client of ours. He's from Mississippi. We became friends because, he called me one day. He was in Austria, and he was at the airport hotel. And he goes, Rob, I can't get the air conditioner to turn on.
Come on.
It's October, okay? So I call him. All right, got it. Let me get on this. I call the front desk there, right? And I talk to him. So I'm fluent in German. So I grew up in Germany, actually. And I'm talking to him. And he said, well, it's October. We turned the AC off, but he can open the window. So I call him back. I said, hey, you're going to open the window. He said, well, the damn handle doesn't work. Right? Because it's a European handle. So anybody that knows the handle's down.
Yeah.
And then it goes sideways to open it up. And if you go all the way up, it tilts. So the window will tilt down, and so we had a riot. But so, and we have done Tajikistan twice. We've done all of Mongolia. He's the only guy that I know where in one swoop it was about 18 days. We did everything in Mongolia, every species.
Wow. And
we're going to Africa next year. So we did everything in Spain. I mean, the guy is a rock star, and I love him for it because he's got a great sense of humor. He's got a great attitude, but you better believe I'm always on call.
Yeah. Well, that's great customer service, waking up at 4 a.m. to tell somebody how to turn a window handle. I mean, you can't ask for much more than that. Rob Kern, the managing director of Hunting Consortium, you can check them out on their website. The one that Rob gave his blood, sweat, and tears to at huntcon.com. That's HUNTCON.com. Rob, it has been an absolute pleasure having you on today, and we look forward to having you back because I've got a million other questions about hunting in these other countries. So thank you so much for your time.
No, thank you so much for having me. This has been great. Thank you.
You bet. All right, folks, we'll see you guys on the next episode of Hunting Matters, brought to you by Houston Safari Club Foundation. Have a great week. Thank you and take care. Hunting Matters is a Houston Safari Club Foundation production. Please rate, review, and subscribe wherever you listen to podcasts. For questions or more information, email us at info@wehuntwegive.org.